to the OC YouTube channel. My name is Taylor Gonzaga, if you don't already know, and I'm kind of your resident tea drinking soprano, but I am also the founder and artistic director of Opera Cecilia alongside my husband, who is executive producer. I am super excited about this video. I'm still considering this a reaction and analysis, but it's a little bit less front heavy on research and a little bit less lengthy than some of my other videos. Just as a little bit of a reminder, we have several virtual events that have been released for Opera Cecilia, and if you go to our webpage, which will be linked in the description box below, you can access those events by paying for a cheap $5 ticket US dollars via our PayPal. So if you're interested in seeing Messiah by Candlelight, or if you're interested in seeing Orfeo ed Eurydice, please see the website for more info on that. We are incredibly grateful for all of the support that you've given to this channel. Spread the word about the channel on social media. Spread the word as much as you can. We are only about less than 50 subscribers away from getting monetized, from meeting that initial goal and meeting that eligibility, and it would mean so much to us if we can get to our first 1K. We are going to be doing our third reaction and analysis video on Angelina Jordan. You all have requested it, so we're going to deliver. Today we're going to be reacting to and doing a little bit of mid-reaction analysis to Angelina Jordan performing Feelin' Good. This is a jazz standard, but this was actually originally written for a musical that was staged in the 1960s called I think it's called The Roar of Grease Paint, The Smell of the Crowd. It was kind of an interesting musical, but that was when it was first performed on stage. Feelin' Good was written by composers Anthony Newley and Leslie Bracus, but it wasn't until Nina Simone added it to her album and covered it for her album I Put a Spell on You, and then it was covered by a ton of other artists, including Michael Bublé, John Coltrane, George Michael, that the song really ended up taking off. And now it's kind of a standard that all of us have probably heard at least once. She was, I think, about 10 years old here, based off of the little bit of background research I did. But for the most part, I'm going into this blind.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
Oh my gosh, what a lead-in. So if you were to close your eyes and listen to this girl sing, you would think that it was somebody much older, somebody in their 20s. She has an extremely, extremely mature tone for being so young in this recording. She has a depth and a richness to her tone that is very unusual for somebody of her age. I have seen the performance that she did of Gloomy Sunday as well when she was, I think, only like 6-7 years old, and how much she grew vocally and how much she developed vocally between then and now is absolutely insane. She does put off a little bit of a stoic presence on stage, and not in a bad way. I actually think for this particular performance, it was really cool that she kind of gave off that vibe, because all of her confidence shines through in her vocal tone. And I think that that's something really beautiful about her. She doesn't need to do all of this huge, like, on-stage acrobatics or gestures. Some people consider it fluff. For some people, it's just a part of the show. I love it either way. I think every artist is their own unique artist, but Angelina Jordan doesn't need to do that. Her strength is the expression that shines through in her vocals. And her voice is incredibly expressive because it has a lot of dramatic nuance to it. She oscillates between like a little bit of that rich kind of raspy tone and a lot cleaner, clearer tones as well, and belting. Everything is very, very balanced. So she's able to have this steady foundation and build off of it with all of this vocal nuance.
Fish in the sea, You know how I feel. River running free. You know how I feel. Blossom on the tree. You know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. And I'm feeling
What I really, really love about what she's doing here with this performance is she's leaning with a little tiny bit of nasality in her lower register. That's something that I tell a lot of my voice students to do if they're trying to access easier pitches in the low, as you can lean into a little bit of that like richness from the nasality. That doesn't mean that you have to completely sound like Donald Duck or anything like that. And she doesn't sound nasal, but just because she's placing that sound a little bit narrower, she is able to get really, really beautiful resonant low notes. And the expression that comes behind some of those scoops, the vocal scoops, good, that kind of stuff, that is very characteristic of jazz music. All of that is very exciting to the audience member in a very emotional, poignant way for this piece, because it's leading us up to this climactic point. This entire piece is a giant build, and those vocal scoops and affectations are contributing to that sense of building up to a sort of climax. And she is so innately latching on to all of these jazz characteristics of the genre, and she's so innately doing all of these wonderful expressive things as a performer that she's pulling the audience in, and all she needs is her voice to do that, and then everything else sort of follows suit. She's the perfect example of a performer that, not just because of her age, everybody is drawn to the performance and wants to hear more. And that's the kind of performer that's going to continue to have a career in the arts, because there's just this extremely endearing and yet also intoxicating quality to the sound that they're able to produce. I hear a lot of people, including myself in previous videos about Angelina, purely talk about her in the context of her age and just saying, oh my gosh, she's so good. She's such a good singer for her age. Oh my gosh, she's only 10, she's only 15, whatever age she might be at in the video the person's reacting to. Yes, it's extremely impressive that somebody of her age is vocally expressive, and it is very impressive for somebody of her age, and somewhat unusual as well, some of the depth of and maturity of the tone. But at the same time, she's just a good artist no matter what age she's at. She has just as much merit as an artist in their 20s, 30s, and 40s does. And I'm a big advocate for taking child artists seriously. I do think that there has to be more protections in the industry, of course, set up for them. And Angelina has a great support system. But I do think that it's important to take those artists seriously, because they're not only the future of the music industry, because they're going to keep having a career and keep growing as time goes on, but they're also innovating and paving new ways for new subgenres and new things that the music industry hadn't even thought of yet.
dragonfly out in the sun. You know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun. You know what I mean. Sleep in peace one day is done. That's what I mean. And this whole world is a new world. And this whole world for me. And I'm feeling good.
She is keeping it calm. She knows that she's probably going to build up to a big climax at the end of the song, but she's not putting all of her eggs in one basket. Not only does this help preserve her vocally for all the fireworks she wants to give us at the end, but it creates this continuous build and this continuous tension versus release dynamic with the audience. She's starting to get a little bit sassier in the second verse. So just because she's keeping it a little bit more chill still in the performance does not mean that she's not giving us nuance and stylistic flair. She's playing with rhythms. She's altering rhythms. That's a very common thing in the jazz genre to do, is to kind of play and alter with rhythms a little bit. Frank Sinatra, who was very famous, of course, for singing jazz standards, was also famously disliked by some of his band members because of how drastically he would change rhythmic structures in songs while he was singing. There's definitely a big improvisational element to embellishments that are made in jazz music, even if it's a standard that a lot of people have sung. That is why you pace yourself. Gosh, you probably saw my face. I'm blown away by how artfully done the last section of that piece was. And all of those wonderful ornaments that were she went up to a lovely upper belt that felt very healthy. At first, it felt like she might be carrying a little bit too much weight up there, but what was amazing was when she got to the very top, she started to lighten up slightly and she rounded out her vowel shape. Her mouth shape actually changed a little bit and her soft palate lifted slightly, and that just gave it a little bit more space that it needed. And then it was able to pop up there and be perfectly in tune and sound really well supported and beautiful. She completely made it her own, and it was so artistically mature the way that she did it. It was so tasteful, and yet it was so soulful. And why it had such the remarkable impact that it did, and why it wowed so many people and it was so exciting for the audience, was because she paced herself the entire piece. We want that buildup of tension so that when we get to the final part of the piece, we can give it our all and we can show the audience everything that we're capable of. I hope you all enjoyed this video, this reaction, this little analysis, and I hope you learned something new about the voice, or at least just enjoyed seeing somebody else react to this fabulous singer. And we will be back with more videos in this series and more series to come with OC. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye!